March 2nd, 2026, the Vatican's Clementine Hall. Pope Leo XIV meets with representatives of the Theological Faculty of Puglia and the Theological Institute of Calabria, two regions of southern Italy washed by the sea. His message to them is poetic, urgent, and slightly unsettling. "Stay on the open sea," he tells them, quoting Pope Francis. Catholics must not be afraid of the open sea. They must not seek the shelter of safe harbors. Theology, the Pope insists, is not about acquiring notions to fulfill academic obligations. It is about setting out on a courageous navigation, a crossing on the high seas. This journey moves in two directions at once: downward into the depths of God's mystery, and outward to explore new horizons and find new forms and new languages in which to proclaim the gospel. Theology serves proclamation. It belongs to everyone, not just specialists, and it must be done together, in dialogue, in mutual listening, in communion between churches. Then comes the line that catches attention: without allowing yourselves to be seduced by the temptation to turn back. For many Catholics, these are inspiring words. They evoke the adventure of faith, the courage of the first missionaries, the freshness of Pentecost. Father James Martin, S.J., has praised Pope Leo's emphasis on dialogue and encounter, noting that the Pope's vision reflects the joy of the gospel that Pope Francis proclaimed. The pontifical mission societies have highlighted Leo's call for hearts united in Christ, reconciled communities as essential to missionary renewal. But for others, the Pope's words raise uncomfortable questions. What does it mean to not turn back? Back to what? Traditionalist Catholics hear in this phrase an implicit critique of those who look to the Church's constant tradition as a guide through uncertain times. They worry that the open sea Leo celebrates is actually a sea without landmarks, a place where doctrine becomes fluid, where the faith once delivered to the saints is subject to endless revision. Cardinal Raymond Burke has warned that the Church's synodal process risks profoundly changing the hierarchical constitution of the Church. He insists that the Church is not a democracy, but a hierarchical communion with pastors who have the responsibility for doctrinal guidance. When Pope Leo speaks of new languages and exploring other horizons, some wonder which horizons and at what cost. The consistory of January 2026 offers a clue. When cardinals voted on which topics to prioritize, liturgy was sidelined in favor of evangelization and synodality. For traditional Catholics devoted to the Latin Mass, this felt like confirmation that their concerns are being quietly set aside. One traditional website reported cardinals who were discouraged and disappointed that liturgy would not be discussed. Then there is the question of doing theology together. Pope Leo envisions a collaboration among clergy, religious, and laity in a synodal style. But critics note that synodality, as practiced in Germany, has produced proposals for women deacons, blessings of same-sex unions, and other innovations at odds with constant teaching. Bishop Athanasius Schneider has warned that some statements of Vatican II itself require clarification, like the claim in Lumen Gentium that Catholics and Muslims adore the one God. How, he asks, can Christians adore on a merely natural level alongside those who lack supernatural sonship? Pope Leo's vision is bold and coherent. Theology must move forward, not backward. It must engage the world, not retreat from it. It must find new words for ancient truths. But the critics have a point worth hearing. The sea is wide, and not every horizon leads to the promised land. The Church has sailed before into waters that looked promising, only to find herself battered by storms she did not anticipate. Perhaps the real challenge is not choosing between forward and backward, but discerning which direction leads to Christ. And that discernment, as Leo himself would agree, requires listening, not only to each other, but to the Spirit who has guided the Church for 2,000 years.